Hello, welcome to Lessons Learned. I'm Sherry. This is your Wednesday video. Today we're doing an installment of the Garden Charm Block of the Month. This is a Block of the Month revival from 2016. This is 2025. It's called Garden Charm and it's from Craftsy. So if you have a Craftsy membership, you can go on to your profile and search for this particular one and download these patterns and sew this up. If you don't have a membership, you can look in the description box and find where you can become a premium member for $1.49 for a year. So if it's something you think you might be interested in, go on over and do that. If not, just listen to this little tutorial on month number 5 of the 6-month block of the month. So if you have your patterns handy, you'll want to pull out the one that says May, which for us it's December 2025. These are called modified piano keys, and it is this portion of the block of the month of the quilt. And then we'll be adding in these 4 stars, which you've already made by now. So today we're going to pick out all of our fabrics here, which is most of the fabrics that you have slated for this project. And we're going to need 1/4 yard of each one of those. And then on our pattern here, I can't show you these directions here. You'll have to get a copy of the pattern. But you'll be cutting some strips out of each one of your fabrics. And then you should have fabrics that are numbered according to these numbers on this fabric legend or key here. And if you're using your own fabrics, then you've assigned these numbers to the fabrics that you are using. If you have the original fabrics from the kit, then you just pick out these numbers based on what they look like. It's a lot easier to find them that way. So pull those out and make 2 strips from with the fabric according to these measurements that are listed here. And then within each of those 2 strips, you're going to make 7. Out of those 2 strips, you're going to make 7 of a certain size. And that is what these are right here. So you'll have these little bars. Let me pick this yellow one here. You'll have these complete bars of the print fabric. And then out of your background fabric, which is the Primrose Cream here, 2654004, it's asking you to use 1 yard and 1/8, and you will be cutting squares out to do stitch and flips on each side of these. And it's going to be kind of like a little, I'm going to call it a roof. So you're going to want to do your squares one way and one the opposite way on each one of these. So let's go over to the cutting table and I'll show you how I have my fabrics arranged before I get ready to cut. As you can see from my project bin, I pulled just about every fabric out of there. These are all the different fabrics that you're going to need. I had mine pre-labeled. All I had to do is grab them. Going to use 1/4 yard and cut them into those strips and then subcut into the little bars. Also, you have your 4 stars from before. We made 8 of these in a prior month. We used 4 of them that month, and then we reserved these 4. So these are the 4 corners. These are the 4 corners of this big border that we're going to add to our quilt. Also, you have your background, and I have various pieces here because we've been cutting from background all through the project. So I may or may not use these up first. I'll just see what I decide to do. Might just be easiest to cut the long with the fabric strips as they suggest. And I could just use this later. I'm sure I'll have some left over. So these are our squares that go on each end of the bar. So first of all, I'm going to get all of my cutting done and come back and show you how to put those little bars together. The strips are all cut out of the print fabric, and then also our background. So now it's time to do the subcuts. So subcut what's indicated in your pattern, and I'll show you a little bit of the beginning of that so you don't get confused. So I have a portion of my print, colored print ones here that I'm going to subcut. This is not all of them, but there are 2. I only stacked 2 up because I want to go wide. If I stacked up any more than that, they would probably go cattywampus on me. So I'm just going to be very careful doing this. Make sure you have a sharp rotary cutter blade in your cutter. I'm going to cut off the selvages first. Move those out of the way carefully. And then there's where we can start our first cut. So here's my first cut. I happen to have a ruler that is exactly the width of the size that I need. So I'm just going to make one. I'm going to go ahead and stack these up. And this is a good way to get them all mixed up too, because when you go to sew these, you don't want to, you know, put 2 colors side by side. And then I need to do another one. And that will actually give me 8 of each. But I don't even need 8. I need 7. I'm going to go ahead and cut it anyway, just to save some time. So this little piece over here, those will just end up in your scraps, I do believe. Some pretty scraps for our scrap bin. So now I'm going to lay down, how many was that? 2, 4, 6, 8. That was my wingspan for reaching. So I'm going to lay down 8 more and do it again. So here we go. We're getting there. So all of my subcuts are finished from the print fabrics. Now I'm going on to my background. Here again, I'm going to cut off, these are all my strips, 2, they're layered as 2, and I'm going, there's a little bump there I'm trying to smooth out. I'm going to cut off my selvages again, so we can get a good start. There's a certain quantity of these that you need as well that's listed in the directions here. And I'm going to have to do just a little bit of math to see how far over I need to cut, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be most of the way over. I want to talk just a second about the Stripology ruler, which I don't have. I'll put a picture of it here. You can purchase this ruler and it would make really quick work out of this kind of cutting. I mean, I'm kind of doing it the same way, but with what I have to work with. So one of those rulers, which is quite pricey, could make this much quicker, and you're just going to be starting off with the raw yardage making your cuts. So something to consider if you want to save a lot of time. So after doing a little math before I just cut randomly, I went ahead and figured out that we're going to use all of this. So there probably will be just a little sliver here on the side. I'm hanging on to these. I'm not going to pitch them to the side or anything because it's possible that I'm going to need 14 more cut out of this. I'm just going to use down what I have and see what happens. You can certainly just sit down and count your squares and make sure that you've got the amount that they say you want on there. So I'm just going to lay those aside for now. I might be using those again later. Or if I didn't want to press out that hard fold there, I just cut me another strip from my yardage. Although I don't know how much more of the background we use, so maybe that's not advisable. So here's what I got so far. The first step is going to be drawing a line on the back side of each one of these. And I think that's for the birds. So I'm going to go install some seam tape, diagonal seam tape, on the bed of my sewing machine. You've seen me do that before. I'll show you what it looks like when I get it all on there, and then show you how to run them through the sewing machine so that we can get them on here. They will be something like this. Let me get one that has a little bit lighter color so that you can see it. Let's see, here's a yellow one. We can see this one. You're going to have this, and then this is going to go down face to face, the right sides together. You're going to have a line, whoops, that one's upside down, or right side up, needs to be upside down. And you're going to have a line here and a line here. Once you sew that on, they're going to look like this. No, they're going to look like, yes, they're going to look like, well, I'm trying to think, how are you seeing it in the video, and how am I folding it to where I see it right? So it's going to be like this. There we go. It's going to be like that. And, you know, do them all the same direction. Although, if you do these, if you just do this where it looks like a roof to all of them, you can turn them and they will all nest together like they're supposed to. Here in the picture, you see that? You see what we're aiming for here? I'll show you more of this over on the sewing table so that you can know exactly what I mean. Okay, seam tape. I've already laid it down. Blue's bothering me. Hey, what's going on? He wants me to hold him. There it is. And then I just laid a ruler up against the red line, and then made sure that that matched up with the side of my needle. So it's blurry. There you go. So I have my presser foot up but my needle down a little bit, and so that ruler's edge is right next to touching the needle, which means the rest of the ruler needs to be just touching the left side of the red line. That way the middle of the needle is on the red line, or we're guiding it towards that anyway. So just make sure you have, you can run it up, you know, up over this if you want to get all the way up there. But the problem is you're going to have this sitting here like this, and then your square on top. Well, if I could do things with one hand, it would. There. So you sit it here, and then you get that very tip edge corner next to your needle to get started, and then this one follows the red line. So you can go all the way up like this, and if you feel like from here to here you still need that red line, you can run it over your bobbin case if you want to. Just make sure you have plenty of bobbins so you don't have to disturb it while you're sewing and have to fill up your bobbin again and pull your tape away and all that stuff. I always hope to get a little bit of life out of this. So, you know, I try to keep it back here and then just kind of use my sense of straight to go from here to here. It's usually not a problem for me. But if you're scared you're going to veer off too much once you get to that last little bit right here, then just go ahead and run your seam tape all the way up over your bobbin case. Okay, here we go. So I'm running my corner right through in front of my needle. You can even lift your presser foot up, get right up next to it if you want. This little corner down here is on the red line. And then I'm looking here right now until that line disappears. Then I'm just going to kind of look at my needle and aim high for that corner. That works for me, but you can see why you might want to go ahead and extend the seam tape all the way up over your bobbin. Let's do a few more. Let's do a whole bunch more. All we have to do is sit and chain piece all of these on one side, take them off, turn it around, and chain piece the other side. And you'll get faster and faster at it. Let's make sure these are right side down. Look here. Make sure that's on there. Your other corner is right by your needle. And there you go. Okay, I'm going to continue on, then I'm going to turn around and do the other side. I'm at the end of putting one square on, so now I'm going to cut these apart. Just going to cut a few apart here and show you what the next step is, and then I'm going to go to town with the rest of these. Let's just take these 4 yellow ones here, and we see that we have our square on this end that we just sewed, and we will be going over and pressing these and cutting the back sides off 1/4 inch towards that point, and then these will be pressed this way. And then your next one, remember that little roof that I was talking about? That means that you're going to want to go from this inner top to the bottom, or if you're doing it this way, make sure it's this way. Either way, you're going to want to make it look like this. This is how we want all of them to come out, just like that. See? So I'm going to go through, and I think probably the easiest for me to not get confused and maybe do something the wrong direction is to start on the top, what I'm calling the top, even though these will be standing up on our borders, and go towards the outer bottom. So same thing again. Don't know if I'm showing everything. Yeah, that's good. Very same thing again. Here we go. Let's do another one. Top inner to bottom outer. The very same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting these apart. It's a great big pile here. Lots and lots and lots. All those bars have one corner on them now. So I'm going to go ahead, cut these apart, and then start sewing like I just demonstrated. Alright, so what I've done here is I've got my 16 different prints, and I have ironed my corners flat, and I have arranged them in a way that I like as far as mixing the colors up. You can try to use this to identify the prints, or you can use the front page that we have. I found it hard to do that. I couldn't decide, okay, which one of these yellows is the actual yellow that's in the fabric, the print itself. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, if you like the way it looks, take a screenshot of that, and then you will be able to copy that rotation. Now you have many, many more than these 16. You have 7 of each of these, I do believe. And so I will go back and finish out my corners on all of these. I've got them all sewn. I just need to iron those out. And I'll stack those. And then I will keep this continuous pattern of colors all the way around my borders. Now it says here to make for top and bottom borders, sew together 26 of these units, and at this point each top and bottom border should measure 8.5 by 52.5. So you're going to put a star on the vertical ones. I've got my star here just to kind of cover up the extra green on that so you can see if you like this. But actually your top and bottom are just going to be these. So you're going to do 26 of those to get your 52.5 inch border. And then it says for the side borders, sew together 30 of these units, and then make 2 borders measuring 88.5 by 60.5, and then sew the star blocks to both edges of each side border. So you will be making the top borders without the star, the top border and the bottom, and then you will make your side borders just like this with your stars on each end. And don't worry about which direction these are facing. I mean, they all need to be facing the same way, but don't worry about if the left border needs to go one way and the other border the other way, because you'll be able to turn it whichever way that you need. So this is where I'm going to leave the video for today. I think the instructions here are very, very good, and it's something that you're going to be able to follow very easily. The only thing I wanted to point out was this color gradients that I've got going on here. In case you liked this, you could go ahead and screenshot that and arrange yours in the same way. And then go ahead and put your other 6 bars on top of them, and then just keep using that rotation for all of your border all the way around. So I hope that helps you. Come back on Friday. We have a show called Finish It Friday, and you will see my borders already hooked on to the other parts of the quilt that we've completed. And I hope you make good progress on this portion of the Garden Charm Sew Along this week as well. And we'd love to see your finishes sent in to be shown as well when you get to this point, or later on when you want to finish the quilt. Alright, have fun getting this portion of the quilt done this week, and we'll see you soon. Bye.